It is something we're conditioned with. It is something we're not just born naturally coming out of the womb with body dysmorphia. I have been told that my breasts look inappropriate in leotards. I have grown up with teachers pointing to our stomachs and saying, I can see the lunch that you had earlier today, suck in. If you're fascinated by the research behind ballet aesthetics, ballet fashion, wearing tights and leotards every day and how that affects us psychologically, then please keep watching this video. I think you will find this very interesting. My name is Carmen. I currently work as a ballet instructor. I have a dance degree as well. I myself am very passionate about how body image issues can manifest in young dancers and what educators can do to prevent that from happening. So that is when I stumbled across this research and created this essay. And just to let you know, your girl does not have this memorized. I really respect anyone out there who can just memorize a 3-page essay and immediately regurgitate it and recite it. So I will be referring to my laptop in the article titled "The Effect of Ballet Dance Attire on Body and Self-Perceptions of Female Dancers." Author Brenna Price conducts an experiment hypothesizing on how body image among dancers can be negatively affected by their dance attire. After the experiment investigated the psychological effects of young ballet dancers either wearing tight clothing or baggy clothing, the results show difference in body and self-perception among the female ballet dancers. The participants in this experiment documented lower self and body perceptions ratings in the leotard and tights attire, whereas the dancers in the baggy clothing had significantly higher ratings. Ballet is a highly admirable art form due to the regimen professional dancers follow and the intricacy of the technique a dancer executes as they perform. However, ballet is also associated with toxicity because there is a risk of young students developing eating disorders, depression, anxiety, or other mental health disorders. So, research has shown a contributor to these negative effects can be the fact that some dance companies or schools require dancers to consistently weigh themselves in order to hold them accountable to managing their own weight. When I was 17 years old, applying to a lot of dance colleges, a lot of the applications required me to list my height and my weight before the audition even took place. That was honestly a huge disappointment for an aspiring educator like me who was really looking to change the ballet world, and just seeing that there. I know that can seem like such a small thing, but for me that was just such a letdown. And it was pretty triggering. I know Gen Z throws that around a lot, and I don't understand why the ballet world is so constricted when it comes to listing height and weight just as something to decide if you should be let in to a school or not, just to even pay them to give you a degree. Anyways, personal story time over. Let's go back to my girl Brenna Price, who came through with the research. So in Price's study, she wanted to see if consistently wearing skin-tight leotards and tights that accentuate female body parts are an additional contributor to low self-worth. I would also like to talk about objectification theory. I think this is really fascinating to intertwine while talking about ballet and female bodies specifically. Objectification theory is the claim that being female in a culture that sexually objectifies the female body causes females to internalize societal assessments of their physical selves. Acceptance of these societal body attitudes can increase body monitoring, which can increase shame, guilt, and anxiety, which can lead to negative feelings about the body and yield poor motivation and performance. I have experienced that myself. In ballet, objectification may be especially strong in the field of dance, where females are constantly monitoring and critiquing their physical bodies and movements. Price believes that tight-fitting clothing is responsible for the increased dissatisfaction with physical appearance. Her study was conducted on 38 dancers who had the same amount of years put into ballet training, despite each participant being from a different background of identifying factors like age, race, and body type. I love this next part. Price refers to the baggy clothing in her study as junk and makes the observation: when dancers wore junk, they reported significantly more positive body and self-perceptions compared to when they wore just leotard and tights. This is significant to understand because if the results in the study show correlation with tight clothing and negative health effects with ballet dancers, then dance companies and schools should consider implementing an option for dancers to wear more comfortable clothing rather than requiring everyone to wear tight-fitting clothing. Price brings up the element that ballet dancers are constantly evaluating themselves in the mirror for extended periods of time, and the type of clothing worn can influence a dancer's perception. Price explains in the results of her study, body area satisfaction, appearance orientation, and externality increased in the class taught without mirrors, and body area satisfaction decreased in the class taught with mirrors. There was also a decline in physical weight for the mirror group dancers, which indicates a strong level of dissatisfaction with physical appearance. So obviously if they're declining in weight, it's not just because of a mirror placed in the room, but I do find that really fascinating that that group specifically had weight decline. I find the presence of ballet mirrors being in a dance classroom such an interesting discourse to kind of get into, especially if you grew up training in ballet or dance in general. You most likely had a mirror plastered right in front of you, constantly evaluating your alignment. And that is a very resourceful tool, but it wasn't until my freshman year of college I enrolled in a modern dance class, and this professor, the first day, he covered the mirrors completely with a curtain, and I realized how terrified I was, how much I depended on the mirror, mostly for copying people, if I'm being real. If you're having a day where you're just not feeling your body, or you feel disgusting, particularly that day, you don't want to look in the mirror while you're dancing. You just want to use that as an escape and to connect with yourself. And that's why I really respect this professor I had who would shut down our mirrors. It made me rely on my physical sensations in my body that I felt during my own movement. I had to take a class on YouTube and see what it feels like not having the mirror in front of you and how more introspective that is, and you can realize maybe what you're internalizing in those moments. You often look at the mirror. When you stop using it for a while, it really shows. It just feels a lot more gratifying because you're the only one that can give you that validation based on what you feel while dancing, and that is most important in my opinion. In conclusion, the results of Price's study revealed that leotards and tights may increase objectification and insecurities in young female ballet dancers. I was fascinated reading this study because I've taken ballet classes for over a decade, and I've noticed the negative mental effects that occur when I'm constantly looking at myself in the mirror in tight clothing. I currently work as a ballet instructor, and after deeply reflecting on this topic, it is easier for me to make anatomical corrections towards a dancer's alignment or be able to clearly tell if they're engaging the proper muscles needed for the exercise, if they are wearing tights or even a form-fitting leotard. Personally, I believe dance teachers have to develop a very specific eye in order to efficiently correct students throughout class, offering a variety of corrections that would be most productive for the student to consider. My dance teacher eye gets stronger the more I teach, so maybe with a little more experience, I would be able to make detailed corrections even if the dancer is wearing less form-fitting clothes. So that's kind of where I'm at with my opinion from a dance ballet instructor perspective, if form-fitting clothes is really the must-have for class and the uniform that we have to stick to and respect. Personally, I see the point of always wearing it. I can see if a student is stretching their knee more. If they're wearing tights, I can see if the ribs are out a little bit more if they're wearing a leotard. However, I can still give really valuable insight and corrections towards a dancer if they're wearing baggy clothing one day. At this point of the video, I would like to talk about this YouTuber I admire. Her name is Mina Lee, and she made a video about balletcore as a fashion trend, which has some controversial opinions on in the ballet world. A lot of ballet dancers I see don't like that it's become normalized to kind of dress in like ballet warm-up attire. I think it's because there's a lot of sensitivity that surrounds a childhood growing up in ballet. Most of us who grew up doing ballet, it was still a very harsh environment to grow up in. It was still very exclusive to certain people to participate in ballet. A lot of people, they know the hard work that goes into actually pursuing ballet and how strong you have to be. I've been on a healing journey with ballet, and I think it's beautiful that people are dressing with it, and I don't think it's offensive. I know not everyone thinks like that, but I just thought I would throw that out there because I think it's interesting. But back to Mina Lee, she makes a wonderful video about balletcore. She talks about how ballet was an elite form of art, how it was known to be comfort athleisure at first, balletcore. It was theatrical, but also a little casual. Mina Lee also talks about George Balanchine, who is a big man in the ballet world, but just remember, he used to give physical inspections to the ballerinas, and they were known to be quite rude, quite damaging, and resulted in even more just eating disorders and self-doubt in these dancers. So just something to keep in mind that wasn't even that long ago. All right, so to close this video out, closing the laptop because we going off the script here. So I think at the end of the day, this conversation all goes back into tights and leotards. Those are just external things in our reality, not to get all deep here. But the real reason that people have body image issues, specifically dancers, is because we are conditioned with it growing up, either by society or teachers or our peers around us. It is something that we're conditioned with, and that has serious implications on students. Teachers really need to be held accountable if they're perpetuating these issues in students, if they're making it worse, because it is something we're conditioned with. It is something we're not just born naturally coming out of the womb with body dysmorphia. This is something that can manifest over time from comments from teachers. I have been told that my breasts look inappropriate in leotards because it's not the normal amount of cleavage that a ballerina should have. I have also seen dancers with bigger butts say that it looks weird in a tutu. I have grown up with teachers pointing to our stomachs and saying, I can see the lunch that you had earlier today. Suck in, always suck in. And to this day, I can still see the little beautiful children I teach looking at themselves in the mirror in these tight clothings and making adjustments. And don't get me wrong, it's just something kids do, but it's been an experience watching that as someone who grew up in a more strict, harsh environment doing ballet, and I just want nothing but the best for my students not to develop any of these insecurities that are conditioned from teachers. So to close this video out, I just have to say, if you are a ballet teacher, please do your best to encourage your students. Have a talk. Remind them that every single person in the world has a body that is not like the person next to them. So I have a different body than you watching this. Your body, you watching this, no one else has your body in the whole entire world. And I think you can get a sense of empowerment there. That is something truly beautiful. No one can take that away from you. Your body is doing its own thing, and that is exclusive to you and very unique. And the ballet world that wants to just promote skinny white bodies, that absolutely awful to me. I can really get heated about this, so I'm not going to. I just think all teachers watching this, just remember, even if it's a light-hearted comment in your head and you're just telling a dancer to suck in their stomach, there's a lot of easier ways to say that rather than, making it something that the student will carry on for the rest of their life and think about. And everyone's sensitive in their own special way. Maybe some people it doesn't affect them and they love tough love, and that's totally okay too. That's awesome. Just remember, every student isn't like that, and ballet teachers need to hold themselves accountable to that. That is it for this video. That was my first ever video essay, and I'm just so privileged to be able to make it. I'm so grateful. I've just been so motivated to make my own, especially about a topic that really is close to my inner child, someone I loved growing up. I love my inner child and everything she went through. I just want to give her a hug, and I'm making this video for other people, maybe growing up in the ballet world, that feel very limited and are struggling to accept their bodies. Just know that teachers are trying to change. I went to college with some beautiful aspiring dance educators who are all on a mission to make the ballet world a more inclusive place. As far as wearing tights and leotards, do it when you want. If one day you want to wear baggy clothing and your studio lets you, don't worry. If the teacher's going to make a comment about it, you are your own vessel and you can put whatever you want on it. So just remember that. I'm sending you guys so much love and empowerment, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.